Greetings, friends. In this short little video, we are going to cover some of the basic components that you will need to consider from an ethical perspective as you are doing your research. There's a nice little chart in our textbook that outlines a number of the ethical considerations that you'll need to take into account as you are completing this work. What you are doing when you involve yourself in research, you are making a truth claim. You are saying that something is the case and something else is not. You're also involved with human subjects, and you can bring harm, oftentimes accidentally or incidentally, to human subjects as you're doing your research. So, because of the importance of research and some of the damage that has been done in the name of research, guidelines have been established for how to conduct ethical practices. So from this chart, we want to talk about a couple different things, draw special attention to those. One is not to leave the participants in your study with a sense of being used. And that can happen in a number of different ways. If you just come and go and don't acknowledge their contribution, your participants' contribution to your research, if you don't thank them, if you don't send a note afterwards thanking them for their time and their contribution when you're conducting a survey or when you're having them do a test or doing something on your behalf, it can lead to people feeling like they're being used. Also, it's a good idea to offer to send to your participants the final copy of your dissertation or your thesis or your project to let them know what you found out. And people are oftentimes very interested in that. So these all combine to help to show your appreciation for the people who've helped you with your work and help to avoid them feeling used. Another ethical consideration is to avoid avoid going native or what's called going native. And what that means is that oftentimes you become so associated and identified and somewhat sympathetic to the people that you're studying that you aren't being critical in a healthy and in a detached academic sense. So one of the things that you need to do is maintain that objectivity and don't become so close to your subjects that you're not able to be analytical about what you see and to write the truth as accurately as you would know how. Another temptation is to fudge the data a little bit, and this oftentimes happens in quantitative research when you get a result that's very, very close to the p-values that you're looking for something below 0.05, and it's easy to fudge a number here or there if you have a 0.056 or 0.06. Something like that, to go back and maybe ask some more people that you know would answer positively or in a way that you would want them to answer, and you just have to resist that temptation to falsify information just to get the results that you want. There's been significant scandals, and you actually can ruin a career by not being objective and not being not only objective, but being accurate in the evidence that you collect and you present. And the last thing I want to talk about is doing anything that would harm a participant. And in the videos that you will have seen in this lesson, you will have seen the Milgram Obedience Survey and the Stanford Prisoner Guard Survey study. Excuse me. Both those studies show what can happen to human subjects, the harm that you can bring to them. Now, the kind of work that you would do is not nearly as intense as that. You're not setting up anything that close to that. But if you aren't careful, you can bring harm to the people that you are studying. So you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And the way that we do that is we deal with two issues called confidentiality and anonymity. They may look the same, but they actually are a little bit different. Confidentiality refers to the way that you will make sure that none of the information you collect can get back to the person that you are studying or interviewing. Now, that doesn't mean that their responses won't be made public, because you will do that, but you won't divulge. Where that information comes from, nor will anybody be able to do that. Nor be able to find out from your research where that comes from, and so that the individuals will have anonymity, and that means that anybody in that you study will know that they are protected, because if they do say something critical about the place that they work, or about some particular project or some particular enterprise, and that got back to their boss, that person could be in great trouble, and we obviously don't want that to happen. A number of other issues related to ethics that we need to keep in mind. We mentioned one about statistics. You can fudge statistics, so if you're being dishonest in ways that are unethical, and you just want to play it straight up, and you say what the data tells you. You're objective as best you can be, or you acknowledge your biases. You do the work. This is a big project that you're undertaking. So do the interviews, collect the information, collect the data in the best way that you can, and work carefully and conscientiously, so that you have a project that you're proud of at the end, and it really does contribute to the knowledge base of your discipline. Acknowledge people's studies when appropriate, or if an idea comes to you. Now, as we said, we mentioned 2 videos. We want to make sure that you watch them: the Milgram obedience experiment and the Stanford prisoner experiment. And I have some questions here for you to think through as you're watching these videos. And here's a write-up if you want to pause and read this slide about some of the information that came from these studies. That study in the Stanford prisoner experiment as well. If you want to read a little bit more about this, you can. But anyway, the upshot of all of this is that this is important stuff that we're talking about here in relationship to working on a project or a thesis. And you are presenting yourself as a researcher of the highest order and a person of integrity. And we want to make sure that you take all the steps necessary to be able to achieve that goal.